we can decide to participate in the fear or participate in the opportunity that it creates. There's a lot of stuff that's going on politically right now, right? And it seems like everybody's getting either super excited and they're like super pumped up. They're like, hey, Trump and Elon are doing the Lord's work and God bless them. And, or like there's people that are running around and saying, like, oh my God, like the whole world is falling apart. Like the economy is going to crash. Everything's going to shit. And I see this stuff and I just think, like, wouldn't it be great if everybody can just relax just a little bit? And so I wanted to make this video because I'm not usually a very political person. I usually don't even make any content about politics, but it's like, even if you're apolitical, it's still all in your social media feeds, right? It's everywhere. And political conversations are coming up when usually they don't come up, right? In places where it's like it doesn't usually come up, it's like they're coming up and it's like, and everybody is just like, what's your opinion? I'm not saying people are asking me to make content about that. I just mean in regular life. Like people are like, what do you think about this stuff? And so you've probably experienced this too, right? And and I've noticed that these conversations, they kind of are there because the other person wants like someone to just to be on their side about to either like complain and think the world's ending or to be like, this is great, isn't it? They just want somebody to like kind of collude with them in that. And I kind of have a different approach, and I want to share it because I think it'll be helpful. The one thing, like, so first of all, I don't let what's happening politically. I try my best to not let whatever's happening politically affect how I'm feeling internally. And this is something that I've strived to do since I was in the military. And so maybe you may know this, you may not know this. This is the first video that you've ever seen of me. Then of course you don't know this. You're like, I don't even know who the hell you are. But so I was in the Air Force for 7 years after high school, from 2003 to 2010. So this is right after 9/11. This is during the Iraq War, during the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I was in the military during all that, right? And and so I got very used to seeing political leaders say that we're going to do one thing and say all the different things that they say, and then seeing our military do a different thing. And I learned very quickly that whatever they say is not what you can trust, is what will happen. And so I learned from experience to just not care about what they say, because what they say is not an indication of what will happen whatsoever. And and that's really served me, especially now, because I see everybody getting all freaked out about what people are saying and what they're doing. And and it's like, of course there's some things that happen politically that will affect us, right? I'm not saying that nothing that they do will affect us, but there's no reason for me to get to like ruin my day or ruin my week and get into like this mental um space of like impending doom when bad just because bad things are happening to others, right? And I don't say that to be callous. I say that because in the world there is always something bad happening to someone at any given time, right? And it makes me think of this analogy. So there's this analogy of, I want you to think about the Amazon rainforest, right? And I want you to think about, if you go into the rainforest at night and you can't see anything, right? All you have is this little flashlight with you, and the rainforest is dense. You can hear all the sounds of all these living creatures all around you, but you can't see anything. You have no idea what's really going on around you. But you have this little flashlight, and it's got this tiny little scope, this tiny little field of vision. And depending on what you put the flashlight on, it's going to paint your picture of how the world around you is. And so imagine if you had this little flashlight and the only thing that you're shining it on is you shine it to your right and you see a snake like eating a rat. And you're like, oh crap, like that's like not good. You shine it like over to your left, and then you see like a baby hummingbird that's just being born. It's just hatching out of its egg. And the mother's like feeding it. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. And then you shine it over here, you see good stuff. You shine it over here, you see negative stuff. And that's what's going on with the world all the time. There's always positive, there's always negative, there's always just things happening, right? And it's up to us. We get to decide what we put our flashlight on. And so if we are deciding to consistently put our flashlight on the negative, scary thing, then things are going to feel negative and scary because we're ignoring all the positive things that are going on around us on a day-to-day basis. We're focusing on the things that make us feel upset and make us feel like there's turmoil. And this has been going on way before like the Trump administration, like way before the first Trump administration. This has been going on like almost forever, at least with the media. So if you think about it, like this is before my time, but like after like first there's like okay, there's World War II, right? And then after World War II, there's Vietnam, right? And then after that, there's the Cold War, and actually this might have been before Vietnam, but sorry, I got to switch hands. Uh, so there's like the Cold War, right? And then there's like the Cuban Missile Crisis, and there's like the imminent threat of death from uh, the imminent threat of death from nuclear weapons, right? And that's all that was talked about. And so, like the media and the news, they make their money off sowing seeds of fear. Like that's what they get paid to do. And during that time, there was like people were freaking out so much they were building bomb shelters, right? People had like bomb shelters in their basement, like, and this happened like worldwide. This wasn't just in America, right? This was happening all over the place. People were storing food and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and there was drills in school like, hey, this is how you like get under your desk in case a nuclear bomb is going to go off. And they practice what to do for when the bomb drops. And then after that, once the fear from that kind of subsided a little bit, then it's terrorism, right? It's like, oh, bombs are going to go off. I mean, it started off with like Columbine, and then there's the World Trade Center, and like I remember that. I remember having this fear that like I'm going to go out in public somewhere and a bomb is going to go off, or an airplane's going to crash into our building in my little town that I grew up in California. Like no terrorists are hijacking any planes and flying them into any buildings in San Luis Obispo where I grew up, but I had the fear of it, right? And this is from the media. The media, this is a byproduct. I'm not saying that they do this on purpose. They do this because it makes people continue watching media, and media gets paid when people watch it because they sell advertising space. So, but the byproduct of that is this fear, right? This fear that something bad is going to happen, that the world is going to end. Sound familiar? Sounds really familiar to what people have been telling me about what's going on politically right now. And then that just continues with, you know, different forms of terrorism, right? And now after that, it moved from like terrorism to like fascism and like the extreme left and the extreme right and like divides within the United States. And this really kind of peaked um, during the first Trump administration and and then especially during COVID, right? And like George Floyd's death and like everything going on with defunding the police and what was going on in Portland and all these different demonstrations, right? And protests. and this divide within the country, and then the news reporting on that. The news is going to report. The news's job is to take that flashlight in the Amazon and point out all the bad stuff, right? And so that's what it's going to do. And it's up to us if we want to put our flashlight, our focus, our awareness, our attention on that, or if we want to put it on like our immediate surroundings, right? Like the parking lot that I'm sitting in, the gym that I'm about to go in and work out at, the grocery store, the Trader Joe's that's right over there that I'm about to go get some like really healthy food for pretty cheap, and like have a delicious dinner for me and my girlfriend tonight at home, and know that everything's like fine. You know, it's up to us. And there was one other thing that I wanted to share about this, that, hopefully this helps somebody else that may feel like the world is ending when really it's going to be okay. I'm not saying that things aren't going to be affected. That's delusional. Like, things will be affected. Things are going to be affected. Things are always affected when people make decisions. But things are going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, the only thing that I really look at when it comes to like the when it comes to the news is the market. And so here's what I mean. Everybody's afraid, right? And a lot of this channel, I talk about like investing, sales, making money, personal finance, stuff like that. Um, and so this is what I look at. I'm like, everyone's afraid right now. They're afraid because of tariffs. They're afraid because they think that inflation's going to go up. They think that prices are going to go up, that interest rates are going to go up on homes, and all this stuff is going to go crazy, and the world's going to end. And because they're afraid, like, the prices on stocks, even like the most secure stocks, like the Magnificent Seven, like, like Microsoft, Facebook, or Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, a whole bunch of other stocks that are known to perform very well, um, are just going down. They're just going down, right? And they're doing that because people are scared, and so I see that and I'm like, okay, cool, time to like buy more of that than I usually do, because the stock market's going to rebound from that, right? It just means that these things are discounted right now. It's a fear discount. And so, like, we can decide to participate in the fear or participate in the opportunity that it creates. It's 100% up to us. And so, yeah, I think that's really it. I'm going to go work out. See you guys later.